What is a 15-year-old mass killer looks like?
I didn't kill him.
You did. You killed your family. I think you had something to do with what happened tonight. I think that you killed your family. And the thing is, the more you lie, the deeper it gets.
How long did it take you to go there? Not exactly sure. I got lost getting there. Two pistol, a 40 caliber, 9mm, a little.
Do you know what kind they were? Do you know guns at all?
Yeah, a little Smith & Wesson, two both are Smith & Wesson. One was a gift from our uncle, who it's the pistol they use on the Boeing 747 things.
Okay.
So one of those, and then 30-06 rifle, a couple shotguns.
In the quiet suburbs of Maryland, behind the closed doors of what seemed like a perfect American home, something unthinkable happened. On a cold February morning in 2008, 4 members of the Browning family were found murdered in their home: John, Tamara, and their 2 young sons, Gregory and Benjamin. But this wasn't a case of a break-in gone wrong. The killer didn't come from outside. He lived there, slept there, ate dinner with them just hours before their lives were taken. The murderer was their 15-year-old son, Nicholas. He was a straight-A student, a Boy Scout, no criminal history, no outward signs of violence, just a teenager, until he picked up his father's gun and committed one of the most cold-blooded family murders in recent American history. In this episode of Crime Uncovered, we'll take you deep into the mind of a teenage killer. We'll break down the events that led up to that horrific night, the interrogation that stunned investigators, and the chilling reason Nicholas gave for turning on his own blood. In the quiet suburban neighborhood of Cockeysville, Maryland, the Browning family lived what appeared to be the quintessential American dream. Their home on Sherwood Road stood as a symbol of comfort and stability, surrounded by a community that admired and respected them. John W. Browning, the father. John, 45, was a successful attorney at the well-regarded law firm Royston, Mueller, McLean & Reed in Towson. Known for his professionalism and work ethic, John was a prominent figure in the community. Outside of his legal career, he was an active leader in the Boy Scouts, mentoring and guiding young people in his local area. Tamara "Tammy" Browning, the mother. Tamara, 44, had worked in information technology before she decided to dedicate herself fully to her family. Known as the cool mum, she was always involved in her children's lives, whether it was attending school events or organizing family gatherings. Tammy was widely appreciated for her vibrant and approachable personality, often described as the life of the party. The 3 sons. Nicholas Wagoner Browning. The eldest, born February 9, 1992, Nicholas was an honor student at Dulaney High School. He participated in varsity golf and lacrosse and was an active Boy Scout. Known for his intelligence and academic success, Nicholas was seen as a promising young man with a bright future ahead. Gregory Browning. At 13 years old, Gregory was introspective and artistic, with a love for writing. One of his most poignant works was a poem he wrote for a class assignment, which would later be shared at his family's memorial. The poem's heartbreaking depth left a lasting impression on those who heard it. Benjamin Browning, the youngest. At 11, Benjamin was known for his cheerful disposition and close bond with his brothers. His presence in the family brought joy and light, and he was dearly loved by all. The Browning family loved spending their vacations at their second home by Deep Creek Lake in western Maryland. There, they engaged in outdoor activities like hiking, boating, and skiing, strengthening their familial bonds and making lasting memories. The family was also deeply involved in their local church and frequently participated in community and charitable events. Despite their outward appearance of being the ideal family, there were subtle tensions beneath the surface that only a few were aware of. Nicholas, in particular, was struggling internally. While nothing outwardly alarming was visible, there were signs of emotional distress that, over time, would culminate in an event no one saw coming. On the evening of Friday, February 1st, 2008, Nicholas Browning, who was 15 years old at the time, was spending time with his friends at one of their houses. It seemed like an ordinary night, as he was enjoying himself with his friends and didn't appear to show any emotional or psychological changes during that time. However, late that night, Nicholas decided to return to his family's home in College Park, Maryland. At 12:30 a.m., Nicholas left his friends and made his way back to his family's house on Sherwood Street. The house had 2 floors, and the 4 family members lived there. His father, John Browning, 48 years old, his mother, Tamara, 46 years old, and their 2 sons, Gregory, 13, and Benjamin, 11. The house was extremely quiet at that moment, with all family members asleep in their rooms. John Browning, the father, was sleeping on the couch in the basement, while his wife, Tamara, and their 2 sons were in their rooms upstairs. Nicholas had prepared a 9mm handgun, a weapon that belonged to his father, and used it to harm his family members. This was one of the guns that the father kept in the house, which enabled Nicholas to carry out the act. At 12:30 a.m., Nicholas began his actions. He entered the house quietly and made his way to the basement, where his father was sleeping on the couch. Nicholas used the gun to shoot his father, John, causing his death instantly. The father, being sound asleep, was unable to defend himself when the shot was fired. Afterward, Nicholas moved upstairs to the rooms of his younger brothers, Gregory and Benjamin, who were sleeping. He used the same gun to shoot both of them while they were asleep. There was no resistance or chance for either of the brothers to defend themselves. As for his mother, Tamara, she was asleep in her bedroom. When Nicholas entered her room, he shot her as well. Tamara had slightly woken up due to the sounds, but she was unable to escape or respond. Afterward, Nicholas left the bodies where they were and continued with his calm behavior. Following the incident, Nicholas showed no unusual behavior. Instead of displaying any signs of shock or grief, he decided to go to a friend's house to continue spending time there. On the morning of Saturday, February 2nd, 2008, Nicholas Browning returned to his family's home, accompanied by the father of one of his friends who had given him a ride. Upon arrival, Nicholas entered the house alone. Just moments later, he came back outside and told the man that his father was lying on the couch and wasn't moving. At approximately 1:30 p.m., Nicholas dialed 911. Speaking in a calm tone, he told the dispatcher that there was a man inside the home who wasn't breathing and that there was blood coming from his nose. Emergency responders arrived expecting a medical situation. However, as they stepped inside, the scene told a very different story. They found John Browning deceased on the living room couch. As they moved through the home, they discovered Tamara, Gregory, and Benjamin in their bedrooms upstairs. Each had suffered fatal injuries. There were no signs of forced entry or a struggle. This led law enforcement to immediately question the circumstances surrounding the deaths. Nicholas remained at the scene, initially stating that he had just found his family after returning home. From the very beginning, something about Nicholas Browning's demeanor raised concerns for investigators. Despite the horrific scene inside the home, Nicholas remained unusually calm and emotionally detached. He showed little to no visible distress over the loss of his entire family, which struck first responders and detectives as deeply unsettling.
Car. If you had to guess.
1:30. I know it was the clock. 1:30.
Okay. How long did it take you to go there?
Not exactly sure. I got lost getting there. I'd probably guess around 3.
I noticed we're being told there's a gun locker in the house.
In the basement.
What kind of guns your dad have?
2 pistol, a 40 caliber, 9mm, a little.
Do you know what kind they were? I mean, do you know guns at all?
Yeah, a little Smith & Wesson, 2 both are Smith & Wesson. One was a gift from our uncle, who is the pistol they use on the Boeing 747 things.
Okay.
So one of those, and then .30-06 rifle, a couple shotguns.
You guys hunt at all, or just?
He hunts. I found a couple times. More clay pigeons. We shoot those up at Deep Creek.
Okay. So pistol-wise,
9mm, 40 caliber,
is it something?
38 special.
Is it a revolver? I mean, it's different. All right, I'm gonna check see if there's some food here for you.
Where are my friends, by the way? Do they go home? Or?
Parents down. We have to have parents come get them. Okay, so you're it.
Yep.
All right, let me check.
As officers began their initial questioning, Nicholas claimed he had spent the night at a friend's house and had returned home only to discover the bodies. However, discrepancies in his timeline and behavior quickly caught the attention of law enforcement. Forensic evidence suggested that the incident had occurred during the night, hours before Nicholas allegedly came home. There were no signs of forced entry, and nothing in the house appeared to be stolen. This pointed investigators away from the theory of an outside intruder and towards someone with easy access to the home, someone like Nicholas.
I think you had something to do with what happened tonight. I think that you killed your family. And the thing is, the more you lie, the deeper it gets. There's got to be a reason why you did this. Your family, we need to know what happened here. Look at this. There were happier times. And you're playing that, and I can see it in your head. You're trying to play it out in the jury. I can get this by, I get this by. I don't know. I wish you could help me. I wish you
It's not saying that I didn't do it. It's saying that, yes, there was one set of keys underneath the bed that I didn't even need the keys to.
See, you're harping on one thing. That's just one thing that we're telling you.
Moreover, police learned that the weapon, a 9mm handgun, had belonged to the father and was stored in the house. There were no signs it had been taken by an outsider. This detail, combined with the fact that Nicholas knew where the firearm was kept, made the possibility of an external suspect even less likely. As detectives continued to question Nicholas in the hours following the discovery, they noticed inconsistencies in his statements and a lack of genuine grief. His story didn't quite add up, and his emotional detachment became a glaring red flag. Within 24 hours of the incident, police had moved Nicholas from witness to suspect. It wasn't long before they brought him in for a formal questioning. The day after the discovery of the deaths, a thorough investigation began, with authorities keen to gather evidence and witness statements to identify the individual responsible. Initially, Nicholas Browning denied any involvement in the crime, claiming he had been at a friend's house all night and had returned to find his family harmed. However, something seemed off about his demeanor. While he described the events in great detail, he remained unusually calm and showed no signs of shock or distress, which is typically expected from someone discovering such a traumatic event. As the investigation progressed, police began to focus their attention on Nicholas after noticing that he didn't exhibit the normal emotional response one would expect in such a situation. Additionally, there were no signs of forced entry into the home, leading authorities to believe that the person responsible may have been someone from inside the family. The turning point in the investigation came when the police decided to intensify their questioning of Nicholas. They pressed him on his whereabouts during the time of the incident. Faced with evidence, including the lack of forced entry and the firearm that belonged to his father, Nicholas's story began to unravel. After a thorough interrogation, he eventually admitted to his involvement in the deaths of his family members. In his confession, Nicholas explained that he had returned home late that night after spending time with his friends. He first went to the lower floor where his father was sleeping on the couch and shot him. Then he moved to the upper floor where he harmed his mother and brothers while they were asleep. Afterward, he hid the firearm in nearby bushes and returned to his friend's house, acting as though nothing had happened.
For a half hour.
He was sleeping.
Yeah, standing over him. And then I went between putting the gun up to his head and pulling it back down and up.
Do you have a pillow up too, or?
Yeah, just the gun. The gun was I'm not sure if I meant to pull the trigger or if it
Just went off.
it just that happened. I freaked out, and I thought, they'd all come down, but I don't even know if they woke up or whatever. But so I sat on the couch and they were up, and I just couldn't realize I couldn't just walk away from that. And then I shot my mom. And then
She's still sleeping.
yeah, I waited for a little bit, then I think she went back to sleep. I shot her.
Is-
And I shot her.
Why the brothers, man?
I didn't. I thought no one was there to say anything that my story would go because I was the only one. Just got scared. It just happened.
It's the only true emotion you're showing right now. Just gotta feel at least a little better.
During the investigation, witnesses described Nicholas's strange behavior after the incident. One of his friends mentioned that Nicholas appeared unnaturally calm, showing no signs of grief or shock. He acted as though he hadn't just been involved in a tragic event. Another family member of his friend stated that Nicholas didn't seem concerned about what had happened to his family throughout the day following the discovery. Furthermore, neighbors of the Browning family testified that they had heard no unusual sounds or arguments that night, which corroborated the idea that the incident had been carried out quickly and without resistance. One neighbor found it odd that they hadn't heard anything from a house filled with family members at such a late hour. There were also statements from Nicholas's classmates, who noted that he had exhibited strange behavior in the days leading up to the incident. Some mentioned that he occasionally expressed anger toward his parents, but no one expected it to escalate into such a tragic event. After Nicholas Browning's confession to the deaths of his family, charges were formally filed against him for the deaths of his father, mother, and 2 brothers. The investigation had revealed chilling details about the manner in which the incident was carried out, but the central question remained: was Nicholas's involvement the result of a psychological condition, or were there other factors behind the crime? Initially, Nicholas underwent a psychological evaluation to determine if he had any mental condition that could affect his understanding of right and wrong. Mental health professionals who assessed him concluded that he was fully aware of what he was doing when he caused harm to his family. The trial officially began in 2009, and Nicholas Browning faced life in prison without the possibility of parole if convicted. During the trial, the defense argued that Nicholas had been under significant mental and emotional stress due to family issues and personal struggles, including problems with his parents. They attempted to present him as a teenager in crisis, who was driven to act out of extreme psychological pressure. However, the prosecution focused on the fact that Nicholas had planned the incident. He had obtained the firearm in advance and carefully carried out the actions. They argued that this suggested the incident was not an act of impulsive rage or emotional disturbance, but rather a cold, calculated act. The prosecution emphasized that Nicholas was fully aware of his actions and executed them methodically. Ultimately, the court found Nicholas Browning guilty of first-degree offenses for the deaths of his father, mother, and 2 brothers. He was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Due to his age at the time of the incident, 15 years old, the death penalty was not an option. The sentencing shocked the local community in Maryland, as such events committed by young people were rare in the area. It also sparked debates about what could drive a teenager to commit such an extreme act against their own family. Despite the verdict, discussions about Nicholas's mental state and the potential psychological influences behind his actions continued. Some speculated that he may have been deeply affected by familial pressures or the environment in his home. However, the case continues to raise questions about how young offenders should be held accountable for their actions in such extreme situations. The case of Nicholas Browning serves as a chilling reminder of how darkness can sometimes lurk beneath the surface of even the most ordinary lives. While the investigation and trial revealed unsettling truths, the question of what truly drives someone, especially a young person, to commit such an unthinkable act continues to linger. In the end, Nicholas's story leaves us with more questions than answers about mental health, family dynamics, and the devastating consequences of unchecked emotions and pressures. His actions not only shattered the lives of those around him, but also sparked an important dialogue about accountability and understanding the minds of young offenders. Thank you for watching this tragic and thought-provoking case on Chrome Uncovered. If you found this story compelling, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more true crime cases like this one. Until next time, stay safe and take care.